It's Matt here from the gear shed again. Just going to run through a little bit of a shakedown of how our tent went when we took it to Wales for the first time, and just a couple of little mods I've done to it already. Can't leave it alone, got to have a fiddle with it. So overall, good little tent actually. Wife really liked it, which is always a plus side. Didn't get any water into it. We had sort of rain most nights in the evening. Wasn't torrential rain. It's you know, Welsh drizzle. So overall, design wise, I think that probably the major thing with it is the little vestibule poles that stick out either end from the entrances are a little bit on the frugal side. They needed it to really make this an awesome tent. They should have been bigger. It's not really a covered entrance getting in and out, and when it's absolutely pissing down, it will let water into the tent basically when you're getting in and out of it. So as one to note, it's more probably, you know, it's designed for summer tent, and with the odd rainstorm where you're stuck inside, you know, definitely a warm weather tent. Alright, now if you see from my previous video I just popped up when we were actually camping, we had the Coleman shelter over the top of it, so it was sort of in here somewhere. And the problem we were having is with the rain, it was coming from the peak of the tent, it was coming down the tent and basically running straight off the top of this, dripping down onto the ground. And obviously with our Coleman shelter in here, this was then part of our living space. So you're starting to get a bit of a puddle here on the ground. And also what was happening is you were getting water coming off the fly down into the thing. So even when it was raining, you kind of had to have this zipped up. You couldn't just leave it unzipped with the door shut. So what I've attempted to do, well, nothing's tested and true at the moment, but what I've done is I've got a piece of, I'll grab a piece of it in a minute, it's actually foam that you put around your windows and doors. It's like a foam sealant stuff. It's like it comes in a channel, it's a hollow channel, it's about 10 millimeters high with an adhesive backing on it. And what I've done is I run that up and over the peak here. You can see here this little black line down to here. Now the idea with that is, with the water coming in here, I mean it's not massively torrential water, it actually hits here and runs down here and off, so trying to divert it away from the door a little bit, just to make things a little bit easier to, when you're getting in and out, you're not getting massive amount. I mean it's not going to stop everything, because basically if it's really heavy it's going to pull up and pop over the top of it. But the idea is when you've got drizzle and stuff, it's just going to keep that amount of moisture coming off the tent and dripping down onto the ground off. So just trying to divert it away a little bit from the top, because essentially it's only from it's kind of like only that top panel that the water's coming off. So if we can divert some of that away, that'll make it a little bit easier to use with the shelter on top. Certainly if we're going to do any more sort of winter style camping, so starting to go late in the season, we will I'm going to rig up a silicone nylon panel that goes between the Coleman shelter and the tent to kind of seal it out, because you get a bit of wind. If the wind changes and comes around the back of it, you get wind blowing through your Coleman shutter. Now the other thing I've done, now this isn't particularly pretty, because I was doing it with epoxy, which is always two-pot epoxy, which is always messy as sin. Other thing with the door works pretty well. Kind of a couple of things to note. Over time, I'm going to say that this flap here is going to curl up and really not do much of a job at setting things off. It's kind of very wimpy. There's no stiffening or anything, and it's just a double layer fabric with a binding tape over the edge, so it kind of flops around a lot. Okay, nothing to stop it blowing up in the wind. Essentially that's because with the door that opens and closes, it needs to be a bit loose, I suppose, to make it work. Now so what I've done is I've epoxied a magnet to the door. It's not pretty. And one, oh, you can see it just behind that black dot there is another one epoxied to the other side of the tent door body. So when you let the tent door go, magnets connect it together, right, and that just kind of tucks the flap in a bit more, so it's not curling up. So this is kind of the part of the door which is it's going to get the most water ingress, I would think. So we pop that in here, and that just basically snugs the flap in. So you can hear it go. I'll go click and click and connect it. So I might do one or two more as we go along. Maybe put one down here and one on the corner here just to kind of snug it in. It's not going to be that big a deal unless there's a lot of wind and rain blowing around the place. It does, which I didn't show in the last video I did, is actually got a little bit of flap backing in behind here to try and keep a little bit of the try and minimise the amount of water. The only sort of downside with that is it's on the inside, so if you need to get water in here, actually will run down here and into the inside. Alright, so that just clicks shut like that. Nifty old idea. Okay, probably the only other thing to say about this door, it does work quite well. The only downside is it won't stay open. Okay, so you can't, there's no way of holding it open. Okay, it's always going to close shut. Downsides of that, especially with the Coleman shelter up with the door open, we had to kind of prop it up by sticking a chair here to keep the door open so we could get in and out without too much fuss. The problem with that, then you've got this big door protruding into your Coleman shelter, taking up a fair bit of space. So yeah, not much I can do about that. The only thing I thought about doing is just rigging a strap up, just a piece of Velcro on the back of there, and just a little runner strap up to the pole in here to kind of hold it open, so you don't have to put a door on it. Put a chair on it. Yeah, we'll see. But overall, it's pretty good. It's got plenty of amount of room inside. Definitely wouldn't say it's for 8 people. Was 8 people. If you're on camping mats, laying on top of each other, yeah, go for it. But it's definitely not an 8-man tent. It's definitely not big enough for that. You're looking. We had 2 adults and 2 kids in it, oldest being 7, youngest being 3, and yeah, that's probably maxing it out for space. I know I'm used to tiny little mountaineering tents, so definitely it's definitely not big enough for 8. I think they were dreaming a bit there. Maybe if you put all your feet together in the centre and slipped out that way, but you'd have to be climbing over each other to get in and out, and you certainly wouldn't be able to put any kit in there to make your days nicer. So yeah, definitely four people, 2 kids, so family size tent really. 2 adults and a couple of kids, maybe 3 kids. Big thing here, because the partition doesn't work that particularly well. In here, I did put some extra connections up to keep the fabric out of the way, but it doesn't work particularly fantastically, and it's something I might have to address to make better. Because of where it is on the partition of the tent, you end up basically with your feet sticking out the outside of it. It needs to come further out, and it's not really a centered division. It's more like it'd be 3/4, because by the time you get your sleeping mats across here and where the partition is, if you put a double airbed, if you want to take an airbed, you're going to be up against that division, and your feet are probably going to be touching it. That then doesn't leave a huge amount of room on the other side. Like, we basically had some of our bags of kit along here, and then we had we've got a cheap fold up shelving unit with the table on the top, and that was up here. And the other thing as well, because of the slant of the tent, if you have something like that in here and like that, then you have a gap down the back because of the angle of the wall. It's not straight up and down walls, they have got a bit of angle on them, so you lose a little bit of exterior space there. But yeah, two adults, maybe 3 kids, nice and cozy, got a little bit of room, gonna have somewhere to put your stuff. Certainly if you're going to buy this tent and use it in English weather or anywhere it's going to be rainy, you're going to need some form of extra shed, extra tent or something that you can cook in, because you've got no vestibule space. I think I noted you can get a vestibule for this. It is quite expensive, and I think a better option would be go to something like a gazebo, one of these Coleman shelters. I mean, we find the Coleman shelter pretty good, or rig up something with a tarp. Get a nice decent sized tarp, just fling it over the top here, and use this as like one connection point. Just bring it out and stick a couple of poles out and peg it out, give you plenty of space. Alright, we will be trying to take this out a few more times before the end of this year, camping, so hopefully we get a bit more rain, and we can see how it performs. But overall, I mean, it's good, slightly flawed I think in the design of these vestibules. If they just made them a bit bigger, it would make it awesome. But hey, you know, every company cuts corners nowadays. So, but there we go. So yeah, a little bit of ideas of mod. I'll let you know how this goes, whether this actually makes much of a difference. This seems to work quite well. Might be something I can do on some other tents. Click shut, holds it shut. It's quite good too. It doesn't blow around in the wind then. And I reckon I might put a couple more down here later on. See how we'll run that and see how it works and go from there. Alright guys, so as usual, comments in the comments box. Fire away. I'm happy to answer your questions, or if you want me to weigh it or do anything silly and measure it, I'm quite happy to do that. Subscribe, because I've got lots more videos coming up. We've got a couple of trips planned. I think I've mentioned that before. We're going to head up to Wales and do some bike packing. So I'm actually making some bike packing carriers for some bikes, and they're also looking, we've been yet to confirm the date, but a couple of mates and I are going to head to the Tour de Mont Blanc next year, so I'll give you some rundown on what sort of equipment I'm taking. Trying to lighten my load a little bit further this year, so check it out, and hopefully I'll do some videos of that trip as well. So until then, keep your eyes peeled, and I will see you later. Bye bye.